Crossovers. While they can be used to explore interesting dynamics between characters from series that normally wouldn't meet, it's usually an excuse to see some of our favorites meet and beat each other up for fun. Sometimes it's companies using different characters they own for an event that'll certainly draw eyes. Other times it's two properties that work so well you're surprised it hadn't happened sooner. And then you have the ones where you're convinced they were high when they came up with the concept, but it turned out unexpectedly well. Not all crossovers turn out well, but some are more successful than we could have dreamed. Of course, fans are known to make crossovers too, even more so since they don't have to worry about the various legal shenanigans that usually prevent them. I want to introduce you, or even remind you, of one of the best unofficial crossovers in my opinion. Something nobody expected or asked for, but turned out to be a perfect combination. Ace Attorney and My Little Pony. Yes, I'm serious. Now, I probably don't have to explain either of these series, but there's always a chance someone hasn't experienced one or even both of them, so I'll keep this brief. Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, known in Japan as Gyaikuten Saiban, I probably butchered that pronunciation, was released for the Game Boy Advance on October 12, 2001 for Japanese audiences, and on October 11, 2005 and March 16, 2006 for North American and European audiences respectively, instead being reworked for the Nintendo DS due to the long wait before being translated. It follows new defense attorney Phoenix Wright, or Ryuichi Naruhodo in the Japanese version, as he seeks to defend his clients in court after they've been arrested for a crime, usually murder. Gameplay is split between two parts: investigations, where you travel to different locations, meet witnesses and other civilians and gather evidence, and trials, where you argue against the prosecutor in court and cross-examine testimonies to prove your client innocent. Additional gameplay mechanics are added over the course of the series, and the story is obviously more complicated than what I've described, but I don't want to spoil you just in case you've never played the games. Go play them. My Little Pony was a line of toys by Hasbro that began in 1981. You'd find it difficult not to find these all over the place. As the years went on, the franchise was marketed in generations to differentiate the various styles. For this video, we're talking about Generation 4, also called by some fans as G4. My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic was an animated show that began on October 10, 2010, and ended on October 12, 2019. Yes, it ran for quite a while. The basic premise is that Princess Celestia, ruler of the land of Equestria, sends her protege, Twilight Sparkle, accompanied by her dragon Spike, to live in Ponyville to learn about friendship. She ultimately decides to stay after befriending 5 others: Applejack, Rarity, Fluttershy, Pinkie Pie, and my personal favorite, Rainbow Dash. Collectively, they're known as the Main Six, and along with learning the various lessons you'd expect about friendship, they also serve as the protectors of the town and even the world in general, as a variety of threats pop up for one reason or another. Yeah, despite the initial premise sounding like what you'd typically expect from a kid's show, there's a surprising amount of plot progression and character development, which are likely some of the reasons it drew in so many fans. With all that said, it doesn't sound like these two would have much in common, so naturally, everyone was surprised when on October 9th, 2011, a trailer was uploaded to YouTube, with the first episode on October 25th depicting a fan-made crossover between the two. This video series was named Turnabout Storm, created by Neo Artemis. Set directly after Season 1 of My Little Pony and Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trials and Tribulations, the third game in the series, the video series features our favorite snarky lawyer Phoenix Wright as he gets pulled into the world of Equestria by Twilight Sparkle. She brought him there with a magical spell while supposedly trying to get the greatest defense attorney in Equestria, but supposedly only asked without the Equestria part by accident, thus getting Phoenix. Despite this, Twilight pleads with Phoenix to defend her friend in court after they've been arrested for murdering some pony. While reluctant at first, Phoenix accepts the case and immediately gets in over his head. Long before his official crossover game with Professor Layton, this series tackled the idea of Phoenix having to adjust to a world with different rules and magic. His performance is remarkably consistent between the two. Once again, I'd go into more detail, but I don't want to spoil you to the many twists and turns. What I will say though is that the overall writing is excellent, with it having an ending that wouldn't be used in the official games until years later, correctly predicting the meaning of the black psyche locks introduced in the fourth game, great voice acting from the entire cast, and even some fantastic original music composed by solo a cappella. I guarantee the theme, like clockwork, will get stuck in your head after hearing it, and the piece of music known as Towards the Truth is hands down one of my favorite Pursuit themes and turns the moment it plays before the final cross-examination into one of my favorite Ace Attorney scenes of all time. Needless to say, this series was quite popular, regardless of whether the viewer was familiar with both properties or not. In fact, some viewers became new fans of whichever series they knew little about. This even happened to me, as I knew little to nothing about My Little Pony before I watched this so many years ago, and I came to like the series a great deal. And its impact can't be understated, as aside from having created a new fan-favorite pony, the legacy of the series lived on in fans' minds. My Little Investigations was going to be an entire fan game utilizing the gameplay of Ace Attorney Investigations, though it sadly only finished one of its 5 cases before cancellation, but I still recommend giving it a look for some fun gameplay and great original music. The point is that fans clearly loved the concept and wanted more. Those wishes would eventually come true. Elements of Justice is the direct sequel to Turnabout Storm, with its first episode debuting on June 5th, 2019. Years after their original adventure, Phoenix is once again transported to Equestria by Twilight, this time accompanied by fellow defense attorneys Apollo Justice and Athena Sykes. And Trucy, whom I can't talk about without spoiling one of the games. Once again, ponies need defending, but a much larger conspiracy builds in the background as our heroes struggle to weave through the ever-increasing mysteries in this full 5-case series. Taking a page from the Ace Attorney Investigations games, the cases are more tightly connected with each other, allowing the series to feel like one grand story we're slowly getting the pieces to as it goes on. As of writing this video, the series is currently in the middle of Case 3, and has been a blast to watch the whole way. I consider Case 2 in particular to be one of my all-time favorite Ace Attorney cases, official or unofficial. The original music composed by The Al Javis, Joined the Herd, JYC Rowe, and Jarvie Jared really helps heighten these moments, whether they be exciting or emotional. By the way, if anyone from the EOJ team happens to see this video, I'd love it if we could get extended versions of some of the music. Thank you. So much of the custom animation and art is a true delight to see, showing how much passion is being poured into it from fans who clearly love both series dearly. The voice acting is also fantastic, with the actors giving A+ performances that truly help draw you in. Now, I do need to specify the timeline placement here, as there's a clear time skip for both series. In terms of My Little Pony, it takes place right after the end of Season 4. Meanwhile, the Ace Attorney characters come from in between the events of Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice, the 5th and 6th games respectively in the main series. Explanations will be given just in case you're not familiar with material from one of the series in particular, but it's still recommended that you watch MLP and play the Ace Attorney games before this so those moments hit harder, as they expect you to know what they're talking about and will mention major spoilers casually. This also applies to Turnabout Storm, as the climactic end of that case is talked about openly just in the first episode, so make sure to watch that first. I've seen some people begin with EOJ and don't expect the spoilers at the start, so I felt compelled to warn you. With all that said, this video has basically been one giant ad to get you to play the Ace Attorney games and watch both My Little Pony as well as Turnabout Storm and Elements of Justice. Rather conveniently, almost all the Ace Attorney games have been collected and are available on most consoles, including PC. The Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney trilogy contains the first 3 games, while the Apollo Justice Ace Attorney trilogy has games 4 through 6. Ace Attorney Investigations collection has both games in that spin-off series, which I personally recommend playing directly before or after the first game in the Apollo trilogy, and then the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles has both of the games in that spin-off series. The Great Ace Attorney is a prequel set over a century before the main series, but I suggest playing it last as it uses your knowledge of the series tropes to its advantage. Unfortunately, the crossover game with the Layton series, oh so cleverly named Professor Layton vs. Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney hasn't been on anything besides the Nintendo 3DS. Here's hoping Capcom and Level 5 can cooperate to make a remaster someday. It's not like Capcom has any other games in the series to port now. Though as a tangent, I'd point you towards Ghost Trick Phantom Detective, another fantastic game by Ace Attorney creator Shu Takumi. The remaster is available on most systems. I highly suggest playing not only the first 5 games before watching EOJ, but also the investigation games and the Layton crossover, though you might just have to watch a walkthrough on YouTube if you can't play it. As for My Little Pony, it's available on multiple locations, such as Tubi and even YouTube, but that could change at any time after this video. Finally, Turnabout Storm and Elements of Justice can be found on the YouTube channels PWAA MLPFIM and Ace Attorney Elements of Justice. Go show them your support. These two might seem like the most random choice to pair together, and downright insane that their meeting turned out so well. But when you actually stop and think about it, it's not that crazy. A game about being a lawyer defending people in court? It seems like it shouldn't work, but it proved successful enough for 6 games, 4 spin-off games, multiple crossovers, and various other media such as manga, anime, and even musicals. It's now considered by Capcom as a core IP as of 2025. A show about Hasbro's toy line of colorful horses that gives them a more developed world and cast? Back then, the concept would have been considered ridiculous. Years later, with 9 seasons, an animated film, hundreds of comics, and dozens of other spin-offs, Generation 4 of My Little Pony has become ingrained in pop culture. Anytime someone mentions MLP nowadays, it's likely this will be the version that comes to mind. 2 series that had doubts against them from the start, characters and stories full of utter silliness that fans can't get enough of, that lets them fit into almost any situation, while still having some legitimately heartfelt and mature aspects that draw people in, making them want more? It wasn't random. They're more alike than any of us thought, and practically a perfect pair. And hey, if we can accept Disney characters with Final Fantasy, I think this should be easy to accept too. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment down below. You have no idea how motivating any encouragement can be. Links to the channels for Turnabout Storm and Elements of Justice will be in the description. Please go show them your support. Have a good day.